Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will lose ourselves in Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Heart of Darkness, written by Joseph Conrad and first published in 1902, is a profound exploration of colonialism, human nature, and the darkness within both the physical and psychological realms. Set primarily in the Congo, it follows the journey of Charles Marlow, a sailor, as he travels deep into the African wilderness to find Mr. Kurtz, an enigmatic ivory trader. The novella is celebrated for its rich narrative, its psychological complexity, and its incisive critique of European colonialism, often regarded as a forerunner of modernist literature. Plot summary. At dusk, a boat rests on the River Thames, quietly moored. A small group of men, former seafarers, sit in contemplative silence, watching the fading light. Among them is Marlow, whose somber demeanor and faraway gaze hint at untold experiences. As the gloom deepens, he begins to speak, recalling his journey into the heart of Africa, a journey that led him not only into the wilderness, but into the darkness within man's soul. Marlow had always been fascinated by the blank spaces on maps, the unknown lands that beckoned with the allure of adventure. Africa, particularly the Congo River, became his obsession, a place that held the promise of discovery. With the help of a well-connected relative, Marlow secures a position as the captain of a riverboat for a European trading company, which operates deep in the Congo's interior, extracting ivory. Eager for the journey, he embarks on a long voyage to Africa, where the land seems hostile and indifferent, its coast a grim and impenetrable jungle. Upon arrival at the company's outer station, Marlow encounters scenes of despair and degradation. The local inhabitants, who are employed as laborers, are treated with brutality, left to waste away under the oppressive sun. Marlow witnesses their suffering, but the Europeans at the station seem indifferent, driven by a singular desire for profit. The manager of the station is a man of hollow authority, concerned only with his own survival and advancement within the company. It is here that Marlow first hears of Kurtz, an enigmatic and brilliant ivory trader who has established himself deep in the jungle. Kurtz is spoken of in both awe and fear, revered for the vast amounts of ivory he collects and feared for his increasing madness. Marlow is soon sent to the central station, where he is to take command of a steamship that will travel up the Congo River to retrieve Kurtz, who is reported to be ill. However, upon his arrival, he learns that the ship is damaged and will require extensive repairs before it can be used. The station itself is chaotic, with the European agents there seemingly lost in a haze of incompetence and idleness. The manager of the station is a cold, calculating man, suspicious of Kurtz's growing influence and popularity with the company's higher-ups. Marlow senses a dangerous tension, as Kurtz's legend casts a long shadow over the men who resent him. During the long months spent repairing the ship, Marlow becomes more intrigued by Kurtz. He hears more stories about the man, each one adding to the myth of Kurtz's genius and madness. Kurtz is described as a man of great ideals, who once spoke eloquently of bringing enlightenment and civilization to the savages. Yet the deeper Marlow travels into the wilderness, the more he realizes that these ideals have been corrupted by the overwhelming power and isolation Kurtz has experienced. Eventually, the ship is ready, and Marlow begins his journey up the river. The further he travels, the more the jungle closes in, an oppressive force that seems to swallow everything in its path. The silence of the wilderness is punctuated by the cries of unseen creatures, and the atmosphere grows heavier, more suffocating with each passing mile. The river, winding and seemingly endless, becomes a symbol of the journey into the unknown recesses of the human soul. Along the way, Marlow and his crew are attacked by unseen natives, arrows flying out of the thick brush. One of the crew is killed, and Marlow senses the danger that surrounds them. The wilderness is not only physical but psychological, and it begins to take its toll on those who venture too far into its depths. When they finally reach Kurtz's station, Marlow is greeted by a bizarre sight. A gaunt, Russian wanderer, dressed in rags, welcomes them and speaks with an almost religious reverence about Kurtz. He warns Marlow that Kurtz is gravely ill, but still commands a terrifying power over the natives, who worship him as a god. The station is a place of horror. Human skulls are mounted on stakes around Kurtz's compound, evidence of the brutal authority he has wielded over the local tribes. Kurtz, once a man of grand ideals, has descended into madness, consumed by his lust for power and ivory. He no longer speaks of civilization, but of his own dominion over the jungle and its people. Marlow finally meets Kurtz, who is bedridden and frail, yet his voice remains commanding. Despite his physical decay, Kurtz exudes an almost supernatural influence. Marlow realizes that Kurtz has embraced the darkness within himself, casting off all pretense of morality. Kurtz's final words to Marlow, spoken in a whisper of despair, are a haunting declaration. The horror, the horror! These words encapsulate the profound emptiness and destruction that has consumed him. As Kurtz dies, Marlow takes his body aboard the ship for the journey back down the river. The return trip is marked by silence and reflection. Kurtz's death leaves a void, and Marlow feels the weight of his own disillusionment with the world he thought he knew. The journey back to Europe is a return to a society that remains blind to the darkness lurking beneath its veneer of progress and civilization. Back in Europe, Marlow visits Kurtz's fiancée, a woman who still believes in Kurtz's nobility and vision. She asks Marlow what Kurtz's final words were. Unable to bring himself to tell her the truth, Marlow lies, saying that Kurtz's last words were her name, preserving her illusion of Kurtz as the man she loved. The tale concludes as the men on the boat remain silent, contemplating the dark truths Marlow has revealed. The Thames, stretching out into the distance, merges with the wider world, carrying the weight of history, exploration, and the shadow of humanity's darkest impulses. That's all for now, but if this book spoke to you, Joseph Conrad has more waiting for you. Find them in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Joseph Conrad's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.